Imagine waking up before dawn, your skin stinging from the cold and your body still weary. There's no alarm clock, only the hoarse crowing of a rooster and the damp smell of smoke and hay. You are a peasant in the heart of the Middle Ages, and your day is about to begin. There are no modern comforts, no running water, no electricity, no soft bed, just the earth, the toil, and the hope that this year's harvest doesn't fail. Because if it does, hunger is guaranteed. Being a medieval peasant wasn't just hard, it was exhausting. Most people in the Middle Ages belonged to this class. Men and women bound to the land, often with no rights, under the rule of a feudal lord who owned everything, sometimes even their lives. It wasn't just material poverty. It was an entire existence shaped by labor, submission, and a daily struggle to survive. Days began at sunrise and ended at sunset. Every moment in between was filled with physical labor, often backbreaking. Plowing, sowing, harvesting, chopping wood, tending animals, repairing tools, collecting water. And there was never a real break. Not even Sundays were truly restful. You'd go to church, sure, but even there you'd hear about obedience and duty, not comfort. Many peasants were not free. They were serfs, a condition we might now call semi-slavery. They couldn't leave the land they were born on. They couldn't marry without their lord's permission. And much of what they produced belonged to him. They had to pay taxes on everything: the mill, the oven, the harvest, even their weddings. Every moment of life was tied to some obligation to the feudal lord or the church. Their homes were poor and humble. A single room, walls made of wood or mud, a thatched roof, and a dirt floor. The entire family lived there, often with some animals inside for warmth or protection. There were no soft beds, only straw mats. The air was thick with smoke from the hearth, which burned all day. In winter, it was freezing. In summer, it was suffocating, but there were no other options. The house wasn't a refuge, it was just another part of their labor. Food was scarce, monotonous, and not very nutritious. Bread was the staple, though not the white, fluffy kind we know today. It was dark, hard, and often mixed with bran, rye, or even bits of bark. People ate vegetables, legumes, and the occasional egg if the chickens were generous. Meat was a rare luxury, almost never present on a peasant's table. Cheese was precious. Fish was a fortunate find for those living near a river. And yet, even these foods had to be shared with the Lord. Famines were frequent, and just one harsh winter or a dry summer could doom entire villages to starvation. The average life of a peasant was short, not due to weakness, but because of hygiene, disease, and relentless labor. The water they drank was often contaminated, collected from wells or rivers shared with animals. Diseases spread quickly, and without medical care, even a simple cold could become a death sentence. Medicine was based on superstition, herbs, and prayers. A doctor, if one existed at all, was out of reach. Often, a village healer or wise woman treated the sick, but remedies were limited. Education was a privilege for the few. Peasants could not read or write. Knowledge was passed down orally. When to sow, how to read the sky, how to help a cow give birth, how to store what little food they had for winter. It was practical, ancient wisdom passed down through generations. The outside world, the world of kings, wars, and books, was a mystery. A peasant's universe was the field, the village, and the church, and nothing more. Even children had to contribute. There was no childhood as we understand it today. By 6 or 7 years old, they were already working in the fields, herding animals, or helping at home. Play was a rare luxury. Toys were rudimentary. Pieces of wood, stones, maybe a ball made of rags. But free time was scarce. because every hand was needed to help the family survive. Women carried an even heavier burden. They worked in the fields alongside the men, but were also responsible for the home, the children, cooking, and textiles. They often gave birth without assistance, in dangerous conditions, with high risks of dying in childbirth. Yet, they were the backbone of peasant families. Without them, survival was unthinkable. But despite everything, peasants were not just victims, they were resilient. They had a deep connection to the land, the seasons, and nature. They knew the rhythms of the world better than anyone. They could hear the silence before the rain, recognize the signs of a failing crop, and tell when a cow needed care. It was wisdom born of experience, not books, and in that wisdom there was a certain dignity. Religion was a cornerstone of life. It wasn't just faith, it was the only worldview they had. Every event in life, from birth to death, was part of a divine plan. Religious festivals were the few moments of respite. Christmas, Easter, local saints' days. They were days of rest, but also of community, stories, and music. The village would come together, pray, eat what little they had, and laugh, even if just for a day. And then there were the injustices. Peasants lived under the weight of laws they could not change, often exploited, taxed, and ignored. But sometimes they rebelled. Sometimes they protested, ran away, or organized themselves. Some peasant revolts made it into history. They were rare and often crushed with violence, but they showed that even in that dark time, the desire for justice was not dead. Thinking about the life of a medieval peasant forces us to confront a brutal yet profound reality. It was an incredibly harsh life, yes, but full of meaning. Every meal was earned. Every winter survived was a victory. Every harvest saved was cause for celebration. And every child raised was a promise for the future. Today, in our modern comfort, it's hard to imagine what it was like to live that way. But maybe that's exactly why we should remember it, to understand where we come from, to appreciate what we have, and to honor the memory of those who lived with so little, but with so much strength. And you? How do you think you would have fared as a medieval peasant? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more medieval stories.